780 Elm made a request. The applicant is Early Development Services, more specifically known as Peninsula Center for Infant and Toddler Development, who have been operating at 780 Elm for maybe 20 years or so. They operate between the hours of 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. with 25 full-time children attendees. The facility is located at the southwest corner of Elm and Calaveras Street, with the cross-traffic at Calaveras controlled by stop signs, and there is an exhibit included with the report. The facility doesn't have a garage or driveway approach and is bordered to the north, south, and west by residential dwelling units and commercial units to the east. The property is zoned for medium-density residential and is currently operating in a non-conforming use. Calaveras and Elm are classified as residential streets, and therefore the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. Under the Seaside Municipal Code 1032-240, green curb shall mean no standing or parking longer than 20 minutes at any time between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. any day except Sundays and holidays. The short-term duration parking is typically discouraged within the city of Seaside as a policy because we have lacking in enforcement resources. So we have a pretty high threshold for when we do apply the green curb. It has been the standard policy that the establishment of short-term limited parking only be considered when it serves public or quasi-public building where the need for short-term parking has been demonstrated, and also areas having a high parking occupancy rate. So we did do a parking analysis on Wednesday and Thursday during morning drop-off and afternoon pickup hours. The following 4 parking areas were evaluated due to their close proximity to the facility. And there is an exhibit again that shows those areas. I want to point out that the staff report marked the yellow incorrectly, or I'm sorry, the orange incorrectly. That should be yellow. And then east of property, it should be orange. So, and I'll go through those and you'll see, but there was a slight error in the staff report. So along the property frontage, which is shown as green, there's on-street parking adjacent to the property that does not require a pedestrian to cross an intersection. Traveling from these on-street parking spaces is considered very easy, and the distance is under 170 feet of walking. There are approximately 9 vehicle spaces available within that 173 feet. Directly across from the property, unprotected and shown as red, there is on-street parking directly across the property, which will require a pedestrian to cross at one of the intersections legs. There are 7 on-street parking spaces available within that zone. Traveling to and from these parking spaces is considered a hard level of effort due to the fact that it's an unprotected crossing. And the walking distance does not exceed 240 feet. Directly across the property on yellow, shown as yellow, there are approximately 2 parking spaces available. Traveling from these spaces are considered a moderate level of effort due to the distance, which does not exceed 240 feet. And then east of the property, which is shown in orange, on-street parking along the south side of Elm Avenue, east of Calaveras, will require pedestrians to cross one protected intersection. The location of these on-street parking spaces are considered to have a moderate level of effort. Walking distance does not exceed 245 feet. And there are approximately 6 spaces available. We chose these areas based upon convenience, safety, and distance as part of our evaluation. There isn't a precise or definitive rule, but we have typically followed for businesses or retail to keep it within 300 to 600 feet. For this situation with younger children, we chose to be even more conservative and kept it to 245 feet or less. So we went out in the morning and the afternoons and looked at how many of the parking spaces were available at the morning and afternoon drop-off and pickups. And there's a table within the staff report that shows you how many spaces were available and how many and what percent occupied they were. And again, if if an area has less than has more than 85% occupied, we would consider that highly impacted and not very available. But as you can see from the table, we didn't observe high occupancy rating except for at the one spot across the facility. The others had a fair amount of parking available. So we concluded that there isn't a need for a 20-minute drop-off zone at 780 Elm Avenue. And I can answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions on this agenda request?
Yeah, Scott, I have a couple of quick questions. Hopefully it won't take you very long. Did we decide on Wednesday and Thursday because that's when they have the most clients, or those are just the days that we selected?
Those were just the days that we selected. There wasn't, we didn't coordinate with the applicant per se.
Okay, and just so I'm clear, they wanted the 20-minute parking for the entire day, even though they have specific pickup and drop-off times.
I would have to check with Leslie on that, Chief Pridgeon. Our 20-minute, our municipal code wouldn't easily, we'd have to do some tweaking, I think, of the municipal code. 20 minutes means 20 minutes all day, Monday through Saturday. So to go further and try to set up just between the hours of such and such and such and such would be something where I think we might have to actually amend the municipal code.
Yeah, and I wasn't suggesting, I wasn't suggesting we do that, but just so that I'm clear, they requested 20-minute parking, and the way the ordinance is written, it would have to be for the entire day because that's how our ordinance is written.
Yeah, correct.
And then the last thing is, has the occupancy level increased or decreased as a result of the pandemic, and do they anticipate it going up or down once we get on the other side of this?
The applicant didn't indicate one way or the other. They are open and operating, and we did observe drop-offs, but I don't have a sense for more than that.
Okay, yeah, not necessarily. I just was curious. Thanks a lot, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other committee members have questions?
Sorry.
Assume not. Is there anyone from the public that has emailed you or contacted you or called you?
Not during the meeting.
Okay.
Let me double check though. I'll get on the email right now and check the info. I don't see any email
I just thought
request.
the proprietor might be there, the owner of the property. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, no comments submitted while we spoke.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion on this issue, or want to bring it back here and make an action item out of this?
I make a motion that we concur with staff's recommendation not to grant the 20-minute parking in front of this establishment.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. Mary Gutierrez.
Okay, Mr. Scott.
All right, thank you. Oh, roll call. Sorry.
Maybe we can just
not
do
used
this.
to it.
Can we just do this, Scott? Is anybody opposed to the to the motion? If seeing no one by your voice, because I don't think anyone's going to be opposed. So I'm hearing no opposed, so I assume. So can we just go ahead and, since there's no opposed, they're all in favor? Maybe let's try that. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
I think you got enough, Scott. You got everybody there.
Unanimous.
Okay. And then, the last item is staff communication. And I think on this one, it's not for action, but I think if anybody has any questions, just like at a council meeting for staff report, people can ask a question. Good, Mr. Scott.
Right. So I was just going to share my screen, and maybe you can see we've had discussion about the intersection of Kimball and Carson. This intersection did receive new bulb outs as part of our pavement project that's currently under construction, and it received quite a bit of interest from the residents in the area. They complained a bit about conflicting turning movements and vehicles having a hard time coming in while other vehicles are trying to come out, exit onto Kimball. So in response, we painted red curbs as shown. North is to the top of the page. East is to the right. And this allows vehicles that are on Kimball either making rights or lefts onto the respective portion of Carson. They have a spot now where they could go into if there was also a vehicle wanting to exit that was on Carson trying to get onto Kimball. So this provides a space for vehicles to cross each other, so to speak, because prior to the red curb, vehicles were parking on both sides of Carson. And if a vehicle was coming out of Carson, there's not enough room for 4 wide on that street. So we've red curbed those. We particularly chose those because of the turning movements, and that has been implemented. So that's really my update.
Okay.
On Carson.
Thank you. And we'll have just for the committee. I know there was 14 letters received on that issue. I know a lot of the neighbors are very pleased that some action was done. As of this afternoon, 3 or 4 of them wanted, they're hoping this works. They wanted to give it the opportunity. I'm not sure, but there is some still concerns, but they want to check and see if it does work over a period of time before they come back to this committee or write letters again to share their concerns. So I guess they're looking at it as a trial basis to see if it works. And they wanted to thank the staff for their moving forward on this. Well, I guess that's the an update from the residents. And just since we're on another concern, and you don't have to answer this now, maybe just get back to me, I can share with those neighbors. They're concerned about some additional work being done on Kimball related to large metal plates. Just give me a call and I can share that answer with anybody that would be, and because they didn't understand if there's no work being done, why are there seemingly large metal beats on Kimball. About it. Thank you.
All right, that's all I have for staff reports.
Any other comments from anybody? Oh, can I ask one question on Carson? Maybe because the fire chief is in the building or in the, does that impact fire trucks going on Carson with the bulb out and the narrowing of the street? Have you heard any complaints at all or concerns?
I have not heard any complaints, and from what I see and what I've heard tonight, what you've done is improving their access to that street.
Okay, great. Thank you. Seeing no other comments, if somebody wants to make a motion to adjourn or any other comments, that'd be great.
One final comment, sorry. I was reminded from the minutes of the last meeting, there was an approval of 2-hour parking along Fremont and between Harcourt and Trinity. And while that was approved by this committee, the applicant has chosen not to implement the request. So they couldn't afford to pay for the curb marks and the sign. So we will keep up to date if that changes. So that's all I have now. Sorry.
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn.
Seconded.
Okay, just all in favor, just by a sign of aye.
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 I think we have an adjournment.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Good night.